but we have a lot of small business owners, freelancers, a lot of solopreneurs, people who maybe used to have an EA, don't have an EA anymore, and want to empower themselves to do their best work. And so Smarty's out in the market. You can try it at smarty.ai. And we're getting better every day. We're making new iterations, but it's been a long journey. I started with the idea in 2018, pitched to investors, got a lot of feedback, but no capital, and then kept working on it, took that feedback, stayed resilient, kept working towards raising capital, eventually raised money in January of 2020 from the first investor that told me no, but I just stayed in touch, kept taking their feedback, kept chugging along. And then we started as a chatbot, which was just on the web, pivoted to a Chrome extension, then pivoted to a web app. And then we had three different web app versions and finally landed on what we have today.
Fear stops us from achieving our true greatness. Are you a professional woman who is feeling stuck, unmotivated, or burned out? Are you worried about your wellness? Are you letting fear stop you from crushing your goals? If you answered yes to any or all of these, then this is the podcast for you. Dr. Charmaine Gregory, night shift emergency physician, burnout thriver, and wellness champion, along with everyday heroes just like you, will explore how to face fear in our lives and emerge victoriously.
Hey, thanks for checking out this episode. Be sure to click the subscribe button and the notification bell so that you get notified when the next video comes out. It only takes 2 seconds to make 2 clicks. So let's do it. Let's get back to the video. Hello, Fearless Freedom Tribe. This is Dr. G, and we are back for another episode of the Fearless Freedom with Dr. G podcast. Today, we have all the way from the planet Brooklyn, Denzil. Denzil's going to tell us all about herself and all of the amazing things that she is up to. Take it away, Denzil.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. My name is Denzil. I grew up in San Jose, California, in the heart of the Silicon Valley. I started coding really early, took that passion with me to MIT, where I did a bachelor's and master's in computer science. I did a theoretical focus in AI, but then I built a practical project doing my thesis in human computer interaction. So I built pretty much Slack, but for the classroom to help
nice.
with collaboration. Yeah, it was really fun. I honestly wish I had stuck with it, but I ended up deciding that the founder life was not for me. I was very anti-startup right out of college. And so I ended up going to big tech instead. Started as a PM at Microsoft, missed being technical. So I started teaching computer science at a community college and then San Francisco State as just a lecturer, and still missed being like more technical. So ended up switching to being a software engineer at Yammer, which was an acquired startup at Microsoft. So I was still under the Microsoft umbrella, but I got to try out the startup feel at a product that was a smaller team, faster pace. I actually really did love it and started opening my eyes to like the startup world, but still wasn't sure if tech was for me. So decided to go to business school, ended up trying a bunch of other careers in between all of that, and finally kind of came up with the idea for Smarty and found myself coming back to tech. And that's how I got started with my current startup. Yeah.
Awesome. That sounds like a really cool road. Speaking of MIT, my kids absolutely love what is it? They put out a program for kids to learn coding. What is it called again? Hmm.
I wish I knew.
What's the name of the program that the kids use to code? Anyway, it's like block programming. It's really cool.
Yeah.
They
Is it
love it.
Scratch?
Scratch, that's it.
Yeah,
Scratch.
totally. That is so
Yeah.
cool. I love that. I actually started coding not with Scratch when I was a kid because they didn't have that when I was a kid, but like very similar. It's such a great way to like, teach kids like how magical coding can be.
Oh yeah, they made some pretty incredible they got really good at it. I mean, they were like pretty young when they started, so they were doing some pretty incredible things like animations
Oh
and
yeah,
all kind of
totally.
really cool things. So yeah, no, we like Scratch. That was a good one.
That's
Awesome.
awesome.
And then so you did a bunch of switching around, it sounds like, which is incredible. And the question though is, was there any fear involved in any of those situations?
I deal with fear all the time. Honestly, I deal with it like daily. Today, I felt it just being like, is this the right path for me? life is long, but also life is short. Like you should follow your passions, but at the same time, you don't want to be stuck in making the wrong choices and setting yourself up for failure. And the fear of failure is, I think, always there, kind of always haunting you. And for me, I often think to myself, oh, like what if I was at big tech again? Like what if I was not in tech? I feel like fear was definitely a big driver for me because I didn't want to miss out on all of the things I was interested in. And I don't know, I think the way that I figured out how to balance that now is that you can only do so many things. You can only invest so much of your time. There's only 24 hours in a day, and how you spend your time is an investment into your future. And so you have to like prioritize. So anyway, I deal with fear every day.
Okay. So it sounds like you recognize it and then you come up with a plan for it
Pretty
from what you
much.
just said. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. 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 And then so tell us now, so you're at another kind of crossroads, right? So tell us more about that. Like what was it? What appealed to you about being part of a startup, even under the big umbrella of big tech?
Well, when I originally switched to Yammer under the umbrella of Microsoft, really all I wanted then was to be more technical. I just missed coding, I missed building something, and that was what really drew me to the role. And that gave me some exposure to what it was like to work at a smaller team at a company that was building something from scratch. And I think that kind of excited me because I'd always been interested in building things, but to your point, like was always afraid that I couldn't do it, that I wasn't the one that was able to build something from scratch. I had to join someone else building something I was interested in. And it's funny, I just was talking to someone yesterday who was telling me the difference between imposter syndrome and the growth mindset. And imposter syndrome is when you tell yourself you can't do something and everyone's going to find out that you can't do it. Whereas a growth mindset is you can't do something, but it's okay because you're going to figure out how to do it. You're going to find the right resources, you're going to find the right people to teach you how to do it. And I think the founder's journey has really taught me to change any imposter syndrome I have into a growth mindset and remind myself, like, just because I can't do it now doesn't mean I can't learn how to do it.
Love it. Oh my God, I love that so much. Because that is a huge concept to grasp because there's no paucity of imposter syndrome even amongst the people who have a high skills. Obviously, you've been surrounded by people with who are high level skilled throughout your career, and even amongst those people a lot of them have imposter syndrome because they feel like they should know how to do it. Like, that's the part. It's like I
Yeah.
have all of this education, I have all of this experience, I should know how to do this thing, but that's not always the case. But that is the key right there. Understanding that you can acquire the skills. Like just because you don't know it right now doesn't mean you can't acquire those skills. So that right there is key. So that is a great distinction between the two things. And thank you for sharing that because
I
I
love
think
it too,
we don't always think
honestly.
about that.
I think imposter syndrome is impossible to get rid of. Everyone has it. There's no
Everybody
way
has it. Everybody
to
has
like
it.
not have those feelings. It's in our human nature. We're always so worried what other people are going to think about us, that external validation. And I think, you have to have that mindset shift where it's about what's in your control. What can you do? And learning something new that's fully in your control.
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, that's great. And that is another great way to face fear because that means that you have a plan now, right? I mean, the plan is the first part is the acknowledgement that you even have the fear. The second part is like assessing the situation. And then the third part is actually having a plan. And then the fourth part is executing it. So the fact that you understand that part and you're like, look, this is another big thing that I'm about to do. I'm about to push myself beyond my boundaries, my typical comfort boundaries, and I'm going to do something that I've never done before, but I don't know how to do it right now, but I will. I will grow into this, which is phenomenal. That's absolutely phenomenal. So
And I
now
love
you
that
got to tell us
breakdown.
about Smarty and what that is.
Yeah, for sure. Smarty is the startup that I started. We are trying to build a conversational executive assistant for people at work, trying to balance their professional and personal lives. So the way that Smarty works today, we have created conversational commands for all of the administrative workflows you have. So I can say something like coffee with Stella at Blue Bottle in San Francisco at 2 p.m. London time, and Smarty will handle the time zone, the calendar location, the contact, and create a calendar event and send it to both me and Stella. And so that's just in calendar management, but we're creating conversational conversational commands in scheduling, link management, task management, contact management, and we just added email too. So we're really trying to be this one interface where you can talk with Smarty, type in what you need to get done, and Smarty tries to automate that executive assistant work.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, that's great. That's a lot of time that's gotten back. And so, so you guys are at that point where you've have these iterations of it. Has it been beta tested already, or where in the game are we?
Yeah, we have an early product. We have some early revenue. We're trying to, right now, it's, I would say, in beta stage where we're trying to get rid of all the bugs and trying to polish it up and try to make it as smooth as possible. But we have a lot of small business owners, freelancers, a lot of solopreneurs, people who maybe used to have an EA, don't have an EA anymore, and want to empower themselves to do their best work. And so Smarty's out in the market. You can try it at smarty.ai. And we're getting better every day. We're making new iterations, but it's been a long journey. I started with the idea in 2018, pitched to investors, got a lot of feedback, but no capital, and then kept working on it. Took that feedback, stayed resilient, kept working towards raising capital, eventually raised money in January of 2020 from the first investor that told me no, but I just stayed in touch, kept taking their feedback, kept chugging along. And then we started as a chatbot, which was just on the web, pivoted to a Chrome extension, then pivoted to a web app. And then we had three different web app versions and finally landed on what we have today.
Wow. No, that's good. And that's funny because, usually when people say no, that doesn't necessarily mean no. It just probably means no at this time. So that was
Exactly.
very, very smart of you to you do like that? I use this word smart. That was very smart of you to be persistent and to stick with, reaching out and keeping in touch with that person. And I'm sure it did not hurt that you took their feedback because people they give feedback at that level, they give feedback for a reason. And so when you adopt it, that just speaks volumes for you and your ability to be malleable in the space, right? So that you can grow. That's
Exactly.
fantastic.
I
That is
think as
good.
a founder, I've really learned how to deal with rejection. And I think it really is a no is just a no right now. It's not a
Mm-hmm.
no forever. And you can't take it personally. You can't take a no and think it's a reflection on who you are. It's not. It's just related to some other circumstance outside of your control. And all you can do is try to turn that no into a yes. And that's true, I think, in any sort of career or any sort of opportunity that you're
Yes.
pursuing. Don't let the negative hold you back from pursuing what you want.
No, that's so true. But entrepreneurship for sure is notorious for that. So you cannot have like a thin skin. You have to have thick
Yeah.
skin, and you have to like just have a driver within that's just gonna keep you pushing no matter what. So no, that's great. And I love that the story is such that, it started in 2018 and then it like progressed and you didn't get funding till 2020. I mean, that's 2 years of grinding and probably like shoestringing it, doing your own stuff and trying to put things together because I mean you have to have when you go to get funding, a lot of people don't understand this, but like when you go to try to get funding you have to have something to have people back. People aren't going to like drop a couple of commas for something that they don't see a substantial potential for. So you got to do some groundwork and some grunt work beforehand and then present it and then refine it and then present it again until you actually get the funding. So that is really good that you shared that part because I think people will sometimes see the success at the end and they don't realize the journey. Like they don't realize all of the iterations there had to be. I mean, you even mentioned that, you initially started as a chatbot. Then you went to an application on Chrome, right? Is that what you said?
Yeah, exactly.
And so it's like, is this like these are steps. You didn't just go straight to the end product. You had to have these steps in between that allowed for you to improve on the product and then ultimately get eyes on the product and then, all of the things. So that's great.
Yeah, you never know when things are going to work out. It's a lot of unknown unknowns. And I think usually when you see like these companies, you think they're an overnight success, but most of them have been working on this idea for 5, 10 years before you hear about them launching. And it's like, okay, that it sets you up to think that everyone is instantly successful, but really it takes time and grit.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yeah, I'm married to an entrepreneur, so I'm fully aware of that.
So you go on the high highs and the low lows because
Oh
there's so
yeah.
many of them
Yeah.
every day.
But you know, I mean, the thing is that there's always going to be some kind of there's always a common thread, right? Which is the driving force or the why they call it. And you have to have a really strong one because of that, because of the high highs and the low lows. Because if you don't, you won't stick with it. And just when you are ready to quit, usually that's when the breakthrough is about to happen. So, it's just a matter of staying power, like staying the
Definitely.
course until you get over that hump and you have that quote unquote overnight success, right? The
Yeah.
3 years or 4 years or 5 years in the making overnight success. Or like I don't know if you watch football, soccer, but like Messi talks about his success and he says, "Oh yeah, I'm an overnight success. It only took me like 15 years and like, lots and lots of sacrifice to get to an
That's
overnight
hilarious.
success."
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, of course, I'm an overnight success. So it's just the reality of it. People don't always, they don't always grasp, but it's really good to talk about that because that's how it is. It's not like that. It is a marathon. It is not a sprint.
That's the perfect framework. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And I love what you said about it starts with your why, because it's not enough to have an idea. I had a bunch of ideas, but I knew that Smarty was the one that I wanted to pursue because I could see myself working on this for the rest of my life. I knew that if I wasn't working on it with Smarty, then I would probably go to one of our competitors and work on that same vision, but through them. It's really important to find your why, to find that driver, because you're not going to get any external validation. It's all going to be you. People are going to say you're crazy. This idea doesn't make any sense. And you need to be the one to prove does it make sense or does it not.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. So great. I love hearing young people talk like this. It just really, really inspires me because, this is not stuff. These are the things, these are the concepts. Well, I don't know if MIT does this, but like the typical technical school does not teach you
No,
this stuff. Like so, and then maybe you might have gotten some of it in business school, but that was business school was after you were already in the
working.
space and already
Yeah.
starting to think outside the box. So, it's like these are concepts that I wish that young people would learn sooner because it would save them a lot of heartache. It would save them a lot of like, meandering, and they would have a little bit more directed pathway. So I love
I so
that you're in
agree.
here doing this.
Well, no, I learned all of these lessons in the last 5 years. And honestly, I probably learned them in the last 2 years because the first 3 years I was so sad about like not having any progress or having not like made it yet or like raised any money. But I didn't learn any of this at school. School was so theoretical, business school too, very theoretical. And really it's the founder's journey that taught me you can't take no's personally. You have to have a tough skin. You have to use internal validation and not external validation. And I think kids should be learning this. I think the 5-year-old in kindergarten should be learning these same values because you learn them so late in life, and some people never learn them.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, that's the sad part. That
Yeah.
a lot, I would say not even just some, I would say the majority
Most.
of people
Yeah.
never learn them. Because it's not until you decide that you're going to do some kind of either that you're going to do some kind of self or personal development journey, or you decide to go into entrepreneurship. Those are the only two times that you actually pick up on these things because they're not widely known, they're not widely advertised. And
Yeah,
yeah, so it's sad that part.
I, I think most people don't put themselves on the edge. They don't want to be uncomfortable. And when you go on a self-development journey or you do entrepreneurship, you are forced into being uncomfortable. You have to do the unknown unknowns. And I think most people just never do that because they don't have to or they don't need to.
Yeah, no, these are facts. These are absolute facts. Love it. And so now you got to tell us how can people get Smarty? How can they find it?
Yeah, they can go to smarty.ai. We called it Smarty because you're a smarty and Smarty's trying to help you be a smarty. So it's smarty.ai. The web app is there. You can sign up, try it out today, and then you can find me on LinkedIn at Denzil Eden. I love answering questions. I love walking people through the products. If you want a personalized onboarding session, happy to do that. And yeah, I hope everyone tries it out. We're getting better every day, and I'm really excited for what 2024 has in store for us.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, and I love that it's something that like small businesses could utilize, right? Because, typically, either starting out in a small business, you're tending to do everything yourself, and it does
Totally.
not usually leave a lot of time for creativity, which is what you really need in the beginning. You need to have like time for creativity so that you can figure out how you can scale up on your idea. And so having something like that will allow for a little bit more time and more creativity and hopefully a scale up and hopefully more revenue for your company. So that's really good.
I'm so glad you said that because that's a big ethos around Smarty, this idea of how taking like these research-backed practices around what is productivity, what is time optimization, so that Smarty can help you find blocks of time for deep work and focus and creativity. Because technology is really good at doing the administrative work, but can't do that creativity thing. That's something that's very innately human in us, creating something new. And so you need to set aside time and space for that.
That's great. I love that you're doing that work. And then so you mentioned that they're competitors. So there are people out there doing the same thing.
There are people who are doing like versions of the same thing or different types of products, but
Okay.
I'm at more in like competing in with the ultimate vision. And my ultimate vision is this idea that we're going to have a single interface with which we're able to talk conversationally and it's able to
Oh,
do
I
things
see.
for us and automate it. So people are doing that in all sorts of spaces. And so I think I'd like to go work on that vision. But in terms of like working on conversational productivity, I don't think we have exactly the direct competitor, and I'm glad. And
That is
I hope
good.
somebody can succeed
Yeah.
there.
Because then that means that you have a niche, right? And then that's always good. That's a
Always
positive.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, great. Great, great, great. So what did you, when you went to business school, what did you specialize in?
So, the Harvard MBA is the first year is a very general degree. You kind of learn a little bit of everything from finance to accounting to legal ethics to law to business. It's a little bit of everything, which is great. It's a very generalized business 101. And then the second year, you can take courses to what like appeals to you. And so people will take things that are more economics focused or politics focused. I took a lot of classes that were more entrepreneurial focused because by then
Okay.
I was pretty sure I wanted to do this.
Awesome. 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 That's cool.
Yeah, it was
Yeah, I just
fun.
remember because when my husband went to business school, he had to specialize or he had to do some additional classes. So sounds similar to what you're describing.
Yeah, I
Awesome.
think I think a lot of schools try to divide the first 2 years because most MBAs are 2 years. They try to do like the first year as a like a broad overview because a lot of people come to business school to potentially change jobs or find a new career. Which I guess I kind of did too. I like came to business school with a very open mind. I was like, I'm open to doing anything.
Right.
I just I'm not sure what yet.
No, that's great. And that's great that they offered, I mean, Harvard is a great business school. My husband went to Ross in
Oh,
Michigan,
that's
so
awesome. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I would I would expect that they would have an arm like that. So it's great that they had an entrepreneurship sector.
It was
Now,
very few when I was there. I feel like
oh
they could do
really?
a lot more to improve it.
Oh,
But
okay.
it's a big
Okay.
focus for them. They really do want to get better, but I wouldn't say like it when I was there, it was still up and coming in a lot of ways.
Gotcha. Okay. All right, cool. So by now, probably I don't know how long ago you were there, but probably
They're
by
five
now
years ago.
they've
I do think
developed
it's a
those
lot better
programs.
now.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's great. That's good to know.
And I think it's the same with my undergrad too. Like they had some entrepreneurial focus, but now everyone is trying to make entrepreneurship as easy as possible in school.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you figure like you go to a school like that, you're coming out with a special skill set. You should be able to like either leverage that for yourself or a group of you guys or like then have the option to go into industry. But options are key.
Yeah, I
Okay.
agree.
Awesome. 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 And then so tell us what are your so you said that you have a vision for the application to just continue to expand and become more and more have more and more utility. What other visions do you have for this year for your company?
For this year, my biggest goal is to ideally get to some sort of profitability, to build up a loyal user base of folks who are excited to talk about Smarty and to tell other people to use Smarty and to figure out our go-to-market strategy. So that's like my three big goals for this year, and I hope we can do it. I think my overall vision for Smarty is really this idea of more and more online services are coming out with APIs. And so
Hmm.
APIs are a great way for one service to talk to another service. And what I want to do with Smarty is make it this hub for connecting with all of the different online APIs that are out there and then creating this conversational layer on top of it. So, like, one thing that I would really like to get working, for example, is flight booking. So, being able to say something like, I need flights for me and my partner on April 8th, and have Smarty show me some flights. I pick one, Smarty pays for it, books it, collects all the information. And all of this is possible today. There's so many APIs for flight booking, there are APIs for payments, there are APIs for contact information. And so I would really love to, in the long term, make Smarty that hub.
Oh, that sounds fantastic.
We'll
And
see.
then I always encourage people, and I've been encouraged by my coaches in the past, when we have a goal that is a monetary goal, like when we're saying to be profitable,
Yeah.
that could be $2, or that could be
Yeah.
20,000, or that could be 200,000, or it could be 2 million. What number are you looking at?
First milestone that I'd love to hit is 250K ARR. That would be amazing.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because until you put a number on it,
It doesn't feel
it's
real.
right.
Yeah,
Exactly. Exactly.
totally.
Yeah. So that's good. That's good that you have it. Awesome. This is awesome. And so you mentioned, you spent a bunch of time in Boston, right, for your education. Um, and then of course you're from California. How did you end up in Brooklyn?
It's kind of a long story. It's funny. My partner also started a startup, was also on the entrepreneurial founders journey, and my partner's co-founder, his wife was a doctor, and she was in New Jersey, and so she couldn't move. All of us were flexible, and so we ended up moving to Brooklyn because of that. And it's so funny. My parents ended up moving to New York City. Lane's parents
Really?
ended up moving to New York City, and so now all of our family is here, and we're probably never leaving. Like,
No,
I
you're
think
not.
Brooklyn's
You're not leaving
home
now.
now.
You're not
And so
leaving.
it's funny. Even though my partner's startup ended up wrapping up, uh, his co-founder's wife often jokes that she's the reason why all of her family moved here, which is true. And we love it. Like, my parents love it, Lane's parents love it. And I find Brooklyn is like a good mix of Boston and California, San Jose and San Francisco.
Okay.
It's like a Brooklyn is like a mix between Manhattan and Boston, and I love it. It's like a good,
Okay. Good, good,
yeah,
good, good. Yeah. No, that's fantastic. Yeah, I always like to hear the story because I'm like, how did that happen? That's
yeah,
like but usually it's family that moves you,
yeah.
or occupation or family, but we already know that you could be anywhere for your occupation. So that's why I was curious. Okay, awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And this has been a very inspirational conversation, and I know that those who are listening are gonna find a lot of inspiration, motivation from our conversation. So I thank you for sharing your story. We have this tradition on the show. It's called fill in the blanks. And I am curious if you're ready. Denzel, are you ready for this?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, all right, cool. All right. So the first one is if I am fearless, I will.
Embrace my curiosity.
Nice, 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 nice. The next one is to me, fearless freedom means.
Following your passions.
Okay,
Or,
okay.
second one to that is
Yeah,
like
yeah.
not caring what other people think.
Oh, I like that because I don't care what they think.
Yeah, it's really important to be
And
fearless.
let me tell you, let me just give you another a little pearl on that. So, as women in general, we tend to spend our 20s like, whatever, trying to like have fun, discover ourselves, whatever. Then in the 30s, we start to like get to know ourselves a little better. We're like, okay, I kind of know what I want, whatever. Maybe, these are things. But then by your 40s, girl, you do not care anymore what anybody thinks. You're like, whatever. I don't care what you think. I'm
Amazing.
doing me. I'm gonna negotiate like a badass. Like, this is who I am. And so that's usually the natural progression.
Progression.
Obviously, these things can get accelerated by life circumstances, et cetera, et cetera. But that's typically how it is. So I love it that you're a young person who says that you don't care if people think. That is phenomenal.
I
That's
mean, the
phenomenal.
founder's journey is how I got there because I used to care a lot about what other people think. And then I realized if I wanted to like meet my goals, I had to stop thinking about that. It's such a waste of your energy and your time. And it's a practice. You have to practice not caring.
Yes, you
And
do.
I'm still working on it.
It's okay, but it's the fact that you started work. You started work
Yeah,
early, so that's going to be very beneficial for you in the long run. So
I
no,
hope
no, that's
so.
fantastic. That's fantastic. Yeah, I was talking to somebody the other day about that, and I was like, it's almost like you turn 40. I'm almost 50, so it's like you turn 40 and you're like, oh my God, like I don't care what anybody thinks anymore. Like, why was I even like worried about that? Like, that's so dumb. But obviously, when you're in it, you're not thinking it's dumb. You're like, oh my gosh, do they think that my eyebrows are straight enough or silly
No,
things?
I still have
Super
those moments,
silly.
but I love what you said about I'm doing me. Like I am doing me. I'm gonna keep doing me.
Yes, yes, I love that. That's the way to go. That's the way to go. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So the last one is my battle cry is
Always keep learning.
love that. Love that. Yeah, that's one that's gonna like really allow for growth for a lifetime. And the
Yeah.
person that you are at the end of that is gonna be unrecognizable from where you started out. So no, that's great.
So I feel like when I'm as a founder, it's like one of the only things that really like sometimes on like those low days brings me any joy is the fact that I'm so different from who I was 5 years ago. And I've grown so much and I've learned so much. And those learnings are tangible. They don't feel like it in the moment, but it is something really precious. And I hope that I can keep learning at this rate forever.
Oh yeah, that'd be great. It'd be fantastic to see even in another 5 years what you'll be like. Be great. Awesome, awesome, awesome. So thank you, Denzel, for taking time out of your busy day and spending with us here at the Fearless Freedom Tribe. And I know people are gonna find you at Denzil Eden on LinkedIn. And that's Denzil, right? Eden. And
Yes,
then
exactly.
also the product is Smarty AI, right? Okay,
Yes,
cool.
exactly.
Cool, cool, cool. All
Thank you
right,
so much.
thank
This was
you.
a lot of fun. This was a really like amazing conversation. And I feel really
Awesome.
motivated coming out of
Oh,
it.
good. I'm glad. That's awesome. I love it.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of Fearless Freedom with Dr. G. Again, I'm Dr. G. And if you like this episode, be sure to subscribe so that you can get notified of when the next episode is going to be. And also, I'll catch you next time. Have a great one. Be strong, be brave, and unleash your greatness.